Welcome into the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where we take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making a difference in our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing is a locally owned marketing firm who specializes in website design, creating social media ads, and engaging your brand online. If you need help with any of that, check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more details today. Joining me inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio is one of my lifelong heroes. It's Dave Weber, one of the Hall of Famers of the Nebraska Broadcast Association. Thanks for being here, Dave. Appreciate it.
Well, nobody could tell me that if I had been put in the Hall of Fame 6 years ago, what a 6 years I would have had. The next 6 months have been crazy.
Have you been more busy since retiring?
No, I still go down to the station and
Sure.
work. Omaha every day is Wednesday morning. We record from 9 to 10. I just meant, people coming up, oh, I saw you on the show, and I heard you on the,
Yeah.
But before it was, boy, you sure said something funny on the sports. Can you explain it to me? And that was about it. But now it's everything.
Let's talk about it, because it's been over 5 decades of a career, 50 years between radio, TV, singing songs at local bars,
Probably,
et cetera.
Let's see, 70, yeah. Yeah, well, I sang when I got to Omaha in 64 in the service out at Offutt.
You're from Evanston, Illinois,
Right.
And you can't help when you came across TV and you were talking about Coach Osborne and Nebraska football, et cetera, the passion that was behind it. When did you really fall in love with Nebraska football?
I used to be able to remember the day that it all turned around for me, and whatever allegiance I had before that, Northwestern in Evanston, or still the Cubs. But I kind of got bit by the Husker bug, and
They were pretty good. That helped.
yeah, and to watch them in the early 70s at KFAB, when I was at KFAB, and talk to Bremser and feel his constant excitement about the Huskers. And then to go to 94, 95, 97. Interesting.
Was it a bit of a culture shock for you when you got here? Because coming from Evanston, obviously you did your time in the service. We'll talk about that in a minute. But coming from Evanston, pro sports is everything. You have the Cubs, you have the Bears, you have the White Sox, you have the Bulls to some degree back then. but was it kind of a weird scenario to walk in as a sports fan and not have that pro sports feel around it, but have that one standalone entity that kind of had that same aura about it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I used to I went down to WGN, Harry Carey and the guys.
Sure.
Jack Brickhouse. Went down there a couple times and visited. I went on a school project one time. And I just kind of fell in love with the idea of just being yourself and being on the radio or on television. And you could make a life out of that. It just amazed me. And as it turned out, that was my life.
Where did your passion for sports come from before you got to Omaha?
I always enjoyed sports. I played a lot of baseball when we were kids, and played baseball in the service, and never played football. We had big high school in Evanston, and the football players were really big and really good. Bob Brown from Nebraska, went to Evanston. I went to Wisconsin, I think, and then transferred here, and he was a big, huge lineman. And I thought back and I said, this is the guy that I'm going to try to block, or that I'm going to...
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think I made a good decision back when I was 17.
If you were going to play pro sports, where do you think your calling would have been? Which sport? Would it have been baseball?
It might have been baseball, because I admired the baseball players in the major leagues so much.
Sure.
Because they were regular people who had off-season jobs delivering mail or something, working at a store, and they're just regular people. And I found out all that they really were regular people when Bob Gibson had his big golf tournament, and Musial and Sandy Koufax and all of them. Ted Williams came to Omaha, and just sit down and talk to him like I'm talking to you.
Sure. Who's the most famous person you think you've ever interviewed?
Most infamous? The most famous, probably, everybody knows Jordan.
Yeah.
We spent a couple days together. He was in town for a Just Say No to Drugs rally down at the auditorium, and they asked me to
gambling, yes. Drugs, no. Yes.
Oh, nobody knew about the gambling. At least I didn't. And as I think about it, if that was his way of letting off whatever, Tiger, how do you argue with somebody that's as good as that and needs something to let steam off.
Yeah, and can't go anywhere without being recognized.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
50 years of doing this, and you just mentioned it. You end up going into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, and you're in the Sports Hall of Fame.
Who'd have thought?
What do you think the longevity of your career says about what you do?
I think you have to be yourself all the time, and then you're the same person on the air as you are off the air. And if that's true, you got it made.
There's this thing that has recently become popular among people in the industry called imposter syndrome, where it feels like maybe you're not supposed to be there, or everybody may be better than you. Did you ever struggle with anything like that in your career?
Only when the Twilight Zone came on.
Yeah?
It made you feel kind of spooky once in a while.
Sure.
Like,
it's the right time of year.
Either this is all pretend or it's all happened before.
Yeah.
But then your senses take over again, and you realize that, like George said in It's a Wonderful Life, I'm the luckiest. Wouldn't it be horrible if you hadn't been here for this?
Yeah. When you get the recognition and get put into the Hall of Fames, plural, you're recognized from the state, but also by your peers. What does that mean to you?
I think the most fun in the business, other than being on the air, was the relationship with the other stations, the other sports guys. In fact,
had to sit next to them at every game, right?
yeah, Friday night. Well, we used to share highlights. The guy, I missed that home run.
Wow.
Did you get it? Yeah, sure. Here's copy it over with from here.
Does that surprise you that people are willing to do that? Because I think when people think about the television industry, it's cutthroat.
Well, competition is important.
Sure.
If you have a story that you have and you got, there's no reason to share it with the other stations, because that's considered very valuable. Something that, but if it's a home run that somebody missed, who's going to know that if you
Same cut, right?
flip the video to them?
Yeah, absolutely.
I realized it at the game Friday night. We were down to a smaller number of people covering the games, Husker games, than we had when I was there. And there wasn't anything really we could do. The game went past the news hour. So we were, Clayton was working on his morning deal. And so I was just hanging around on the field. And I watched Channel 7, Andy Kendig and Sean Callahan, who used to be on Channel 6, do their post-game live. And they got done, and I said, well, that was a very good job. Nice job.
Yeah, they're both great.
They both.
Yeah.
But that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
You should appreciate other people's efforts and let them know you appreciate it.
What was your favorite part about working at Channel 6?
The staff. Mm-hmm. Merlin Klaus, John Chapman, Ross Jernstrom, Mike McKnight, Roger Hamer, Eric Wall, all of them, just the best guys in the world.
Ross has obviously dipped his toe into the teaching world out at Westside. Is that something you've ever done in your past or thought about?
I would hate to tell a young person something and then have them fail at it or be successful at it, and then tell somebody, well, that's what Dave Weber told me to do.
Sure, I got you.
You got to make, you can give advice, but
that sounds like something that Ross may have told you was happening. When we talk about all the fun things that you've been able to do throughout the years, and we mentioned it in your bio that your favorite was the '94 Orange Bowl against Miami. Why that game?
Well, it was a culmination of all the broken hearts and all the efforts and all the players that tried to win. In my career at broadcasting at Channel 6, that tried to win a national championship and tried to beat Miami and tried to win in the Orange Bowl. Those were mountains to climb, because everybody we played in the Orange Bowl was a home field team.
Yeah.
Miami they were home.
Yeah, they had literally their home field.
They had 95% of the crowd, 90% of the crowd. And the Huskers fans were stuck over in one corner of the end zone. But to actually win that game and win it convincingly and just bring such joy to Nebraska and the fans.
I can't help but notice you said when we won. And I think for anybody that's ever had to cover a team, like there's a little bit of sense of pride in there that you were a part of it. Is that a big deal for you to be able to say we and have the conversations that you had with Coach Osborne?
If you're not identified with the team, you're probably a really good newscaster or sportscaster. If you could keep your neutrality when you're doing highlights of a game that you won or lost, of the team won or lost, that's really, really professional. I can't do it.
I'm probably gonna get some flack for this, but I don't care. So I do the post game for the Creighton men's basketball team, and we were sitting courtside for the Sweet 16, and I may have gotten in trouble for sitting at Radio Row and clapping for one made basket. So I'm right there with you. I have a hard time separating the individuality as well, and it wasn't anything. I was just asked to stop. So
Imagine being at the Orange Bowl.
There's
In the press box, with a huge press box in the Orange Bowl, and 1/3 of it is Miami season ticket holders.
Oh, wow.
Who had enough money to talk somebody into letting them come up and watch from the press box in case it rained.
Sure.
And there's
because that happens so often in Miami.
When you go down to Lincoln, this is a working press box. Please be quiet.
Yeah. You hear a pin drop in there.
They were screaming and
Sure.
drinking and screaming and clapping beer and all that stuff. And I got so angry because I got stuck up there because we didn't have enough sideline passes, and that I didn't even go down on the field until early in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
Yeah.
What if that's the best? Do you have because I think we all that have worked at a sporting event have one. Do you have a horror story? You don't have to say who or where if you don't want to, but is there one that sticks out that you're just like, this was the situation I had to deal with?
There used to be a photographer at Channel 6, and he just drove everybody nuts. And I tried to be his friend because we both had the same background in the Air Force.
Okay.
And coming to Omaha. But he was absolutely just infuriating. And Texas was here for the College World Series. And he was shooting the live shot with me and Cliff Gustafson in the dugout for the 5 o'clock. And he tried to put the camera on the tripod, and there wasn't a little plate on the bottom.
Oh, no.
That you lock into the tripod.
Yeah.
And he accused me of taking it, breaking into his locker downstairs.
Of course you did. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's just the way he was.
Yeah.
And I said, I didn't take it. And so he just put the camera on top of the tripod and went up to get something to eat in the press box. The camera fell off.
Of course it did, yeah.
And one of the tubes got all messed up. So the sky was green, the grass was blue. And they had to send out another camera with, Munson had to come out with the weather guy with a camera and give it to him. And then we did the live shot. But we never got over that incident in our relationship.
Sure. And then, of course, you had to work with him several other times. Correct?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. But we never spoke again for about a year.
Yeah.
And then we were all in the sports office talking, and he walked in, and they all said, "Come on, you guys." So we started talking again.
Sure. We're catching up with Dave Weber.
Is that the worst thing that ever happened to me?
If that's a pretty good career, if that's the worst. We're catching up with Dave Weber here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio. You mentioned it. You did serve some time in the United States Air Force. That's what originally brought you to Omaha, correct? Yeah. What do you think in the military helped you be prepared for your career?
I think that everything I did for my relatives when I was a kid, when I got my first guitar, my uncle, my mom's brother, died in the Aleutians during the war, and he played guitar and he took his guitar with him, and we never got it back. And so a part of her heart was broken, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So when I started playing guitar because I enjoyed it, I kind of took his place with her emotionally. Sure. And
she probably saw a lot of him in you.
Yeah, and that just started it, and then it just kept growing from there. I seem to be I hate to say the right place at the right time because it's not always true.
But it helps.
But I was in the right place to get the job, first TV job, yeah.
Yeah, you forewent college, correct, to take a job in radio originally, correct?
I was going to go to the Columbia School of Broadcasting.
In Minneapolis.
Yes.
Yeah. Any regret? I assume not. Now that we're talking about a 2-time Hall of Famer here, but any regrets about not doing that?
Oh no, I had sent them a deposit for my tuition.
Sure.
And the girl I was dating in Omaha, I was living back in Evanston, helping my uncle at his hardware store. And the girl I was dating in Omaha called me and said, "So and so just quit at KBON Radio. Do you want to apply for the job? I'll go down and talk to him." And I got the job and ran back to Omaha. And
you still sound surprised when you said that. I got the job. Was it that surprising back then? Because you had not done anything in radio previously to this, correct?
No. I think if you're not surprised by the way things work out in life,
Sure. That's a great point.
I don't think I want to be friends with you.
That's a really good point. Why was radio such a passion? Because it was back at that time a much more broader stroke of media.
It just seems like young people came up to me during my time at Channel 6 and said, I want to do what you do. I want to do this. What do you want to do for the rest of your life? I want to do that. I want to do that. Be careful. Don't pigeonhole yourself into something that 20 years from now you may say, I wasted my whole life trying to be a success at this, and I found a little success, but I don't really like it anymore. Let yourself grow and find things that you enjoy doing, and then someday it'll come along and you'll find something that you're suited for, that's ready for you. And the marriage of those two things is unbelievable when it happens.
You can never explain that to an 18-year-old.
No, they always, they want it now. They want it yesterday.
My favorite memory of you is not the 94 Orange Bowl. It's the 95 Orange Bowl, or the 95 Fiesta Bowl, where you found the corn cob.
I brought that with me.
You brought it with you. I'm sorry. Okay, you found it in Nebraska, though, correct?
No, I found it in Miami in the end zone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. You want that story?
Yeah, please walk us through, because I guess I have a misunderstanding. I didn't go back and rewatch this. I remember watching this when I was 8 years old. So please walk us through this again.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, I remember.
I didn't have a sideline pass. I was up in the press box. Third quarter towards the end, I just got so fed up with these Miami fans screaming and stuff. I said I had to get out, so I got out and just walked in the stadium and walked down to the sideline and went up to a guy named Dave who did the sideline passes. And I said, Dave, I got to get out of that press box. And he looks around and he goes, here, take mine. So I took his sideline pass and walked out on the sidelines, and I could breathe.
Sure.
And you spend the whole two or three decades of seasons on the sidelines, you get used to it.
And sitting in a box is
it's
almost
nauseating. It's a freedom, and you're almost part of the effort.
For sure.
I imagine myself in the end zone watching a play, and then some guy breaks free on the other team for a pass.
Yeah.
And I yell something, and the back glances at me and then runs over and intercepts the ball.
Yeah. Sure.
It never happened.
So,
but I imagined it.
I'm sure it did at least once. Where do you find the corn cob at then?
I was standing on the sideline about the 10-yard line in front of all the Husker fans, and we were down
by 10, right?
Yeah, 17-10.
Yeah,
I think it was
7. So yeah, yep.
And a voice. There was a kind of quiet in the Husker group fans, and I heard a voice say to me, Dave, you're the only person who can will this team to victory. You have to do it.
What does Ross Drencham sound like off
camera? He doesn't sound like that.
Kidding. I'm just kidding.
I know Ross's voice.
Yeah.
This was a voice out of the crowd.
Sure.
And I looked up, and I couldn't see anybody standing or anything. Uh-huh. And he said, you have to do it, Dave. You're the only one who can lead this team to victory. And I said,
Tom Osborne standing over
This
there.
is weird. So I looked up in the stands, and I gave him a high sign,
Yeah.
And I walked over in the end zone, and I saw all these corn cobs from the Miami fans that threw corn on the field.
Sure.
And I reached down, and I grabbed a little 4-inch piece.
Yeah, it was smaller.
And I held it up like this, and nobody said anything. So I went over to the sideline, and I was looking up in the stands at the fans, and I said, I put it behind my back, and I just held it. I never looked at the field again the whole game.
Wow, really? I never knew that part. Okay.
I told my news director that, and he about killed me.
Yeah, I bet.
But the fullback dive for a touchdown.
Forrest Lessinger, yeah.
And then the tide, and then I look at the corn cob, and I look up at the fans, and the guys in the front row knew what I was holding in my hand. They all started pointing at it.
Yeah.
And eventually it went back row after row after row, and I'd hold it up like this, and people would cheer. Not everybody.
Yeah.
But and then they went and scored the winning touchdown, and I really held it up, and I said, then I started wondering if something wasn't going on that I didn't know about. And that was it. And then Ross came in and said, NBC's broadcasting the game, and they have an extra hour on the satellite. do you want it? They asked us if we wanted it.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I said, and so we did an hour post-game show, and I told the whole story of the corn cob live on Channel 6.
You still have it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Where's it at?
In a case in the living room.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. If we talk about Omaha in sports, we can't leave out the College World Series, and all the national championships are great, but the College World Series is ours, right? And you were there for almost every single one at Rosenblatt. What's your favorite memory of that stadium?
Sitting on the roof over the foul ball net behind the plate. And if I wanted to kick my feet, I could have kicked that net.
Like on the actual roof itself?
Yeah, on the roof itself with the camera on my shoulder.
Yeah, that's safe.
shooting highlights. Well,
Yeah.
if I wouldn't be out there now, I guarantee you.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was so relaxing and fun, and just the atmosphere and actually walking from the left field corner all the way past home plate to the right field corner in the stands.
Because you could do that in that wide press box, yeah.
Yeah, and in the stands, with all the people around you, and they'd all say, "Hi, Dave. How you doing? What's new?" And it was like having an extended family. I loved it. I loved Rosenblatt. I was so angry when we lost Rosenblatt.
Do you have any feelings towards Charles Schwab Field now?
No, it's just a piece of cement. I got no memories of that at all.
I think people would be surprised to know that not only were you an on-air talent, but you were the sports director as well. What would somebody be surprised to know that the sports director at Channel 6 was in charge of that they may not see on camera?
You want the truth?
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
All right. When I was inducted into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame a month or two ago, Roger Hamer was in the audience, the photographer that spent all those years with Merlin and I and Ross and Mike.
Yeah.
And one of the guys interviewing me from the podium while we were getting the award. What was it like? What was a regular day like at Channel 6 for you? And I'd say, well, I had a lot of voiceover work I was doing at the same time for other entities.
Yeah.
And I'd come in, in early afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock. And Roger says out loud, he yells it at me, and you'd walk in the door of the sports office and say, "Well, boys, what do you got for me today?"
Yeah.
And it was true. And then they'd say, "Merlin's got this story package, and then we're doing this as a voiceover." And I'd say, "Great, let's do it."
And we're off.
That was it, and we're off and running.
What would you say is the biggest difference between radio and TV?
Clothing.
Yeah, sure. You just wear whatever you want to the radio station.
You don't have a camera. You got to figure out a way.
Now, by the way.
Oh, yeah. But you got to figure out a way to talk to the people on TV. And the only way you can do it is to imagine, and it sounds trite, imagine that camera is a person.
Sure.
And you're just talking to them. And if you can do it, you become Johnny Carson. You become a huge success treating the camera like a person. And it helps you learn how to treat people too.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and in radio, it's the microphone. They miss your facial expressions on radio.
So you have to paint it for them.
Yeah, you do. But if they can see you when you're talking, and you do a little take or something into the camera, they see that and they love it.
Yeah.
Because that's their connection to you. You just did something that only somebody watching you would be able to see and enjoy, and they feel like they're closer to you there.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Johnny Carson, and I mentioned at the beginning of this you were a big influence on my career. Who were some of the biggest influences on your career before you got started?
Well, like I said, the guys on WGN in Chicago.
Do you think you have a better voice than Harry Carey, singing-wise?
Hi, Steve. Yeah, I think my voice maybe not as recognizable as Harry's.
That might be for the best.
But Harry was a character. I don't think I was ever a character. I think I have a funny feeling that a lot of people, if they would imagine themselves on TV, they would be like Dave Weber. And I don't mean that to be egotistical or anything, but just enjoying yourself, seeing something that you find is funny and pointing it out,
it never came across like you weren't enjoying yourself.
Oh,
though. And I want to make sure I mention.
Well, I know, but you hate to say that because it's an assumption.
But if you're having fun, I mean, you're hoping it comes across that way, right?
If I'm enjoying it, then I think the people at home are enjoying it. And if they don't watch me.
Yeah,
watch one of the other stations. That's fine. I have no problem with that.
We've mentioned it a couple times. You're a bit of a Rolling Stone, major rock star in your day. You said you played a bunch of folk music at local bars,
folk star
around town. Why you mentioned your relationship with your uncle and the connection there? What was the biggest joy for you when you played music?
The music itself, singing.
Yeah.
Becoming a part of it was like reading out loud, telling stories. You're telling a story but you're singing and playing guitar with it or whatever, piano. And it's just something, if you try to explain it, it's not going to make any difference. It's like, did you enjoy your piano lessons? No, I hated them. Why didn't you? Well, you should have kept it up. Because someday you're going to say, God, I wish I'd
have stuck with it.
Kept those piano lessons going.
We're catching up with Dave Weber here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio. I hope you know by now that we're going to ask you the tough questions on this podcast.
Tell me about Pixel Fire Marketing before you.
Oh, yeah. They're a great local marketing firm. If people need help building social media ads or designing a website, they can absolutely help you.
Sitting here staring at you.
Yeah, we can help you out with that. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more details, and we can go over that off air. But the tough questions. And
sure,
if you need a minute to think about this, I totally understand. What's the best karaoke song of all time?
Sweet Caroline, probably.
I was a Yankees fan. That hurt my heart to hear you say that.
What's yours?
I nothing. Me singing in the corner of a bar and letting other people enjoy music. You don't want to hear me sing. I sang.
You didn't say sing, but you.
Okay. My 21st birthday, there may have been some influences. I sang Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi, and it was so bad, the rest of the bar started singing along with me, not to help me, but to drown me out.
To drown you out. But that's the beauty of music.
True.
Everybody has it in them. I mean, they've conducted wars with music.
That's a good point.
It's a very inspirational thing. Religious music. It's got music's in everything.
Yeah, and in every culture.
And I love to tell the stories that the folk songs that I used to sing or still do sing.
How much of a big deal was that for you? Because you talked about enjoying it. You loved sports. You loved music. But you keep going back to storytelling. How big of a deal was it for you to be able to tell stories?
It is still.
Yeah.
I keep my Facebook page. I take stuff that I read on Facebook and put it on my page because it means something to me. And I get a lot of responses from that. Not that I make any money off of it, like some people do. But I enjoy sharing things like that. And I think if you can make someone feel something simply by telling them a story, then that is the greatest communications you can have with a person. Hell, with a dog. I sit and talk to my dog.
What's the dog's name?
Dixie. And
Shout out to Dixie.
I think she understands some of the things I say. And to me, that's incredible.
Yeah. What kind of dog is she?
Labradoodle.
Okay. We talked about all the great stuff that you've been able to cover throughout your time, whether it be Nebraska football, the College World Series, et cetera, et cetera. Is there anything you didn't get to cover in your time in Omaha that you wish you would have?
Not in Omaha. I didn't get to go to the Olympics in 84.
Is that in Kansas City?
No, it was in
that was LA.
Overseas.
Right? Okay.
Europe, I think maybe, or I don't remember, but they sent nicely to cover it, and that's fine because he did a great job. But
so why don't you like John? No, I'm just kidding.
John and I get along fine.
Great. That's what we want.
As far as anyone knows,
right? Yeah, at least on camera, right? You got the opportunity to work with one of the best of all time in Lyle.
Me, I'm sorry.
You're
Go
fine.
ahead.
We'll edit it out on the run back. You got to work with Lyle Bremser. Do you have any great Lyle Bremser stories?
I got a Lyle Bremser, two of them that'll kill you. I was just a board announcer.
Okay.
I'd come in at 4 o'clock and work till midnight and play records and do the news and do the sports, on the air sports, not covering sports. And I was saying at the end of a story or something going to break, I say, and make sure to leave it on 11. And I said, leave it on 11. And
Your voice cracked.
yeah.
Okay.
And I look in the door, and there's a big porthole window in the door of the studio, and there's Bremser's face right up against the window.
Did your heart drop?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And when I hit the commercial button, and he opened the door, and he says, "We're not running a school for announcers here, Weber." That was it, and he was gone.
Is that the first time you talked to him?
No.
I couldn't imagine if that was the first conversation.
We became a lot closer after 70 and 71 and 72 when
sure.
they won. And
he was having fun.
He had a lot more fun then.
Yeah.
Monday was a difficult day if Nebraska lost.
Yeah.
Everybody in the station paid. But the big story with Bremser, we used to tease him, me and an engineer named Al Bates. Video or audio tape came in big, huge reels. And there was a metal ring in the middle of the reel. And when you ran through all the tape, you throw that ring away. But we never threw them away. Because the hallways and the floors at KFAB were linoleum.
Oh, okay.
And so when you rolled that ring on the linoleum and went,
right, yeah.
And it was from the newsroom all the way down to Bremser's office, 10 offices.
And I'm sure he loved that.
Oh, we'd roll it down the hallway, and it would go, and then we'd hide, and it would hit his door, and he'd open, and he'd come out, and he kind of was a little bit bent over.
Sure.
And he'd look both ways, and then he'd close the door and go back to what he was doing. And
you knew?
No, he never did know who it was. I'm sure he knew, because the ring was there on the floor in front of his door.
One about 4 people, right?
Oh God, it was just a hoot.
This is something we talked about off air, and I hope you don't mind me asking.
No,
on air.
please.
What's the key to success?
Well, the popular answer would be, well, that's for every one of us to find out.
Sure.
But it really is true.
Yeah. It's different for everybody, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the concept of success is different. Money, popularity, love, family.
Do you feel like you have it all?
I feel like I have. Yes, I do.
I think that's what success is.
But and you have a certain quality of happiness, which I have anyway. But satisfaction, I would say accomplishment, but it's not always accomplishment.
Yeah,
it's you just feel good. You wake up every day and you want to get up and find out what's going on that day. Satisfaction's
an interesting word, because I think that's also different for everybody. You don't feel like you're satisfied being complete with your career. Is that fair? A fair assessment? Like, could you be comfortable today saying I'm hanging it up for good?
No, and staying home and sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
No, I've already got a deal together to sing at assisted living.
Nice.
And nursing homes.
Okay.
And I've got all the gear. I got the microphones and everything, and I'm just about ready to type the words on a piece of paper so I don't forget them.
Sure. Yeah. It's a struggle sometimes, even for me. So
if anybody needs a nice vocalist, a sincere person who has a good time, give me a call.
I think most people would want to ask you favorite sporting event, favorite memory from being on air, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What's your favorite part about being a dad?
Oh, that's interesting. I just said to my son David works out of the house, and he's 50, and my grandkids come over to the house and eat like sailors home on leave.
Yep.
The boy.
I've got 3 girls all under the age of 4. I understand.
Elliot eats. I've never seen someone eat so much food so fast.
Sure.
And I said to David, who was sitting, and he got Elliot and his twin sister Everly left, my daughter's kids, and I said, David, I don't remember you guys eating that fast and that much food in all the years when you were kids. And he said, well, Dad, you weren't here.
Oh, okay.
And that
hurt a little bit?
It hurt a little bit, but then I remembered why I wasn't there.
Sure.
And
so you can be there for his kids.
You can't be there for everything. And it just turned out that my work schedule was, 1:30 to 10:30. And I just wasn't there for dinner.
It's a struggle for me, too, because, I have the show from 6 to 8 o'clock at night. I do Friday night football games. I'm at a lot of times at the CHI Center till midnight or 1 a.m. when we're covering the Creighton games. So that's a big deal for me. And with my kids being so young, I'm starting to miss some stuff. So, yeah, I can absolutely relate to that. We talked about it at the Open. It's in your bio. Also,
You can either change your schedule or get used to it and make up for it.
yep, that's
what you have to do.
something my wife and I have been talking about a lot.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Not only a successful career, successful marriage. What's the key to success in 50 years of marriage?
To keep the wine flowing in the marriage cup.
Sure.
When you're wrong, admit it. When you're right, shut up.
That's great.
Sorry,
No,
Terry, if you're listening. But
That's great. That's great advice. That is great. But I mean, it's for the husbands in the room. We know we're never right anyway. So, Dave, I agree. We're over on time, and
I'm sorry.
I please don't apologize. This was absolutely great. I greatly appreciate you doing this. Thank you for being here today.
You bet, Jim.
This is Dave Weber. If you don't know who he is, you probably aren't from Omaha, but he is a 2-time Hall of Famer and one of the best guys in the industry to ever do it. Thank you for doing this. This has been the Spotlight Omaha podcast brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio. We'll be back tomorrow learning about a new business in Omaha that is just opening up its doors in the coming weeks. We're going to talk about their start in entrepreneurship and a whole lot more. We hope you can join us tomorrow at 11 a.m. here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast.